You want to know the biggest difference between agency owners doing $20,000 a month and those scaling to 7 figures? It's not work ethic, it's not your skill, and it's not your network. It is systems. Do you think that the CEO of McDonald's is flipping hamburgers? Of course not. McDonald's serves 69 million people across 40,000 locations in over 100 countries. They do $23 billion in revenue annually. And here's the wild part. The food tastes exactly the same as it does in Tokyo, Paris, or New York. How? Well, they built systems so powerful that teenagers can run these multi-million-dollar operations. Today I'm gonna be breaking down how McDonald's created the most scalable business model in history and show you exactly how to apply these same principles into your agency. Let's dive in. Before McDonald's became a global empire, it was just a single burger stand. In 1940, two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, opened up a barbecue restaurant in San Bernardino, California. They were making decent money, around $200,000 a year in today's dollar, but they noticed something interesting. 80% of their revenue came from just hamburgers, fries, and drinks. Most restaurant owners would have just kept going, but the McDonald's brothers did something different. They completely reimagined their business. In 1948, they shut down their restaurant for 3 months. They fired all of their car hops, removed most menu items, and redesigned their kitchen from scratch. When they reopened, they created something revolutionary that they called the speedy service system. The system wasn't about having the tastiest food. It was about creating a precise, repeatable process that enabled lower price for customers, faster service from 30 minutes to 30 seconds, consistent quality every single time, and the ability to serve a massive volume. They essentially turned food service into a production line, like a factory for hamburgers. Now, here's where it gets interesting for agency owners. Ray Kroc, a milkshake machine salesman, visited the McDonald's restaurant in 1954 and was blown away. He didn't just see a busy restaurant, he saw a system that could be replicated anywhere in the world. Kroc partnered with the McDonald's brothers and began franchising the system, and just within a few years, McDonald's restaurants were all over America with the exact same system. This is your first big takeaway. The McDonald's brothers were not selling burgers, they were selling a system. And that's exactly what you need to be building inside of your agency. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, we need to address the biggest blocker that prevents most agencies from creating a scalable system. It's your ego, it's your identity. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. As long as you see your business as an extension of yourself, as your identity, you're going to struggle to scale beyond what you can personally do. You'll get trapped in what I call the glorified freelancer trap. Think about it this way. McDonald's doesn't rely on master chefs. They rely on systems so robust that they can hire anyone, they can train them quickly, and they can maintain that consistent quality. This means you need to stop thinking that no one can do this as well as I can do. You need to start thinking, how can I deliver a system where anyone can deliver results similar to mine? This is about shutting down your ego and looking at your business the way an owner would, not as a glorified freelancer. So McDonald's success is built on 3 core systems that work together. Let me break them down and show you exactly how they apply to you and your agency. So the first system is the operating system, aka how work gets done. McDonald's operating system is a work of majesty and efficiency. Every movement is planned, every process is identified. For example, there are specific specifications on how many seconds to toast the bread, the precise pattern for applying condiments, how many pickles go on each burger, the temperature for frying potatoes. Nothing is left for chance or individual creativity. This allows predictable quality, efficient training, and easy quality control. How this applies to your agency is that most agencies operate like that pre-1948 McDonald's, with every project being custom, every team member doing things their own way, and the owner constantly putting out fires as a result of this. But what if you had a system that every client deliverable followed a specific system, every client interaction followed a documented process, and every team member knew exactly what good was like for that client? One of our agency members was doing a custom project for every single client. He would basically take orders for that client. So what we did when working with them is we implemented a system-based retainer approach for his agency, where we basically productize how we can get his clients from where they are to what they truly want. This means our offer was completely productized. We have a checklist for onboarding, we have a checklist for fulfillment, we have a checklist for editing, we have a checklist for exactly how to deliver the client's results and actually deliver the content to the clients. And we were able to create standard operating procedures where all we had to do was plug people in to follow those exact processes. So here's how you can start creating your own operating system. 1, document your current process and delivery workflow. 2, identify the parts that rely on your personal expertise. 3, create templates, create standard operating procedures and guidelines so that you can plug somebody in to replace yourself, your expertise, and somebody can just follow the simple trainings. And then lastly, plug people in, test it, refine it, and make it more efficient over time. The second system that McDonald's has absolutely nailed is the hiring system, which is basically who runs the business, who runs the operating system that they've been able to create. McDonald's has figured out how to hire, train, and manage people at massive scale. They can take someone with zero experience and get them trained up to be productive on day one. And the system includes clear, specific job roles, simple visual training materials, progressive responsibility, and systems for accountability. And how this applies to your agency is that most agencies are terrible at delegating. They hire people and then they get frustrated because the people that they just hired can't read their minds. But what if you had a people system where every role was clear, there was clear KPIs for that specific person, it was systematical and visual to actually train them and get them onboarded, and you had metrics that you could actually measure performance of who you're actually hiring. Another client in agency U was literally burning on both ends of the stick because they were so bogged down in the business. They have tried hiring multiple people, but what ended up happening, and what he said verbatim, was, I feel like it's adding more work to my plate. The problem with this mindset was not that he was bad at hiring or the person wasn't a good fit. The problem was he didn't have a hiring system or an operating system to actually be able to plug somebody into to do well. So what did we do? We reverse engineered his offer, came up with a step-by-step protocol, created clear deliverables and KPIs for that specific role, and the result was he was able to buy back over 20 hours per week of working in the business because he was able to plug in a team member to work the systems that he's been able to actually create for that team member, and he can measure the results on the person that he hired and set the team member ultimately up for success with clear KPIs and a definition of what actually good is. So here's how you can start building a people system. 1, define the roles that your company actually needs. 2, create outcome-based job description, not just a list of a bunch of responsibilities, but the KPIs that that person should hit in order to basically be successful in the role. 3, start documenting your processes so that the person that you're hiring can reference the systems and processes and the trainings that you built for them. And 4, make sure you are tracking the metrics of who you're actually hiring, because what doesn't get measured will not get improved. We need to know if we're hitting the KPIs, have dashboards in place so that we can easily have a management view and an overview of if the client is in fact crushing it in their specific role. So the third system that McDonald's has completely mastered is a client acquisition system. McDonald's has mastered the art of predictable customer acquisition. They know exactly how many people will visit each location, how much they'll spend, and how to attract more customers. Their client acquisition strategy consists of consistent messaging and branding. You know exactly what you're gonna get based off of the brand, strategic location selection, promotions that speak to specific behaviors, and pricing strategies that maximize profit and get people excited to visit the location. In addition, they are the masters of unique mechanisms, the Happy Meal, the Quarter Pounder, things to catch the attention to get people excited about visiting the store and trying the next good thing. See, most agency owners rely on referrals, word of mouth, or the founder's network, and their messaging is super unclear because a lot of them are just order takers and they just do whatever the client wants. Problem with this is there's really no predictable way of getting clients. And oftentimes the messaging that I see when I'm speaking to a lot of agency owners speaks to nobody. They're generalists and they're not specialists. They're not pinpointed on the specific pain points of the customers that they're actually talking to. And this leads to basically the months of feast and famine. One month it's killer and the next month they have no idea where their next deal is going to come from. We implemented a client acquisition system for one of our clients, Gabrielle, inside of Agency U, where she was basically relying on word of mouth and referral. She's really insecure to hire people. She was insecure about the growth of her business. She was worried that if a client left, it would basically put her out of business because she was relying on her network. And when she was busy, she didn't have time to do the client acquisition system because she didn't have time to go out and network. So what we did is we plugged in what we call our authority funnel, DM funnel, inside of her business, and she was able to add $24,000 per month in new revenue. And now she has a predictable way that she can turn on and off, predictably get business. If she loses a client, she doesn't feel insecure, she doesn't feel vulnerable. And she knows that if I just do the DM funnel, the authority funnel, then it's going to create an abundance of leads that I then close and ultimately end up with more revenue. So here's how to start building out a client acquisition system. The first things first is we need to identify our ideal client. Secondly, we need to create messaging that speaks to the pain points and to the desired outcomes of that specific avatar. We need to make sure that the outcomes are actually financially driven. Then we need to implement something like the authority funnel that we can basically fuel the fire of our messaging, get in front of a lot of people, which creates an abundance of leads. And finally, we need to create a sales process that takes people from cold to sold. So now let's put this all together into a practical playbook that you guys can use to steal McDonald's systems so that you can apply these same systems systems inside of your agency. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to productize our offer. Just like McDonald's minimized their menu based off of the client feedback, we need to do the same thing with our offer and minimize our services based off of what the clients actually want. Second thing that we need to do is we need to come up with the steps to outcome and basically document the process. So we need to document process from A to Z. A lot of people, when they start building out their offer and they start actually selling it, it is just either a madhouse or everything is just kept in the owner's brain. The problem with this is that people won't be able to read your mind. Again, we have a hiring system that McDonald's did, and what we want to be able to do with our processes is plug people in just to simply follow the processes. And when I'm documenting my process, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about what's the most ideal experience for that client, from onboarding to client delivery and even to offboarding. And this is the boring work, but this is the boring work that actually works yourself out of the business. The third thing that we need to do is we need to create SOPs. So McDonald's has a very clear chain of command from the regional managers to the people that are actually flipping the burger. What they've done really, really well, and you guys can Google this, like show me a standard operating procedure for McDonald's, is they've documented their SOPs to be basically dumb-proof, which is why they're able to hire teenagers to run these multi-million-dollar locations. So what this means for you, after you document the process, what we want to be able to do is we want to create trainings for each of the processes that get our clients from where they are to where they want to go. What's basically the fallback training that somebody can go to if they feel stuck? That's where the standard operating procedures will be extremely paramount for scale, because it'll remove you as the bottleneck. And basically what you're doing is you're getting everything out of your brain and you're training, you're discipling people up to basically be as good, if not better than you, at what it is that you're doing for your specific clients. Step 4, what we need to do is we need to implement a training system. McDonald's Hamburger University is famous for its systematic approach to training. For your agency, what this means is almost turn your process, almost turn your onboarding process in like what you do internally into a course, so that when you hire people, all they need to do is just watch your agency university to understand exactly what they need to be doing for each step of the way. This equips and trains people and actually builds them into being able to effectively do their job. So what I would suggest is almost create like a library of a bunch of trainings and have it be like a course internally for your team, for your specific role that you're hiring. This is something that we've implemented and have had a ton of success with. An agency owner we worked with, Kate, created something that's called like a School of Excellence, which was basically a Notion database with a bunch of SOPs with a Loom video. And when he hired somebody, all he really did was have somebody go through the School of Excellence, and that did a lot of the heavy lifting for them. And when they were onboarded and trained, he didn't have to answer questions back and forth, invest a ton more hours than he needs to into training. All he needed to do was point people back to the School of Excellence, which saved him hours and actually built up an A player and set them up for success. This is the same thing that you guys can be doing to train your team to be better than you. And the fifth thing that we want to do is we want to create measurement systems. So McDonald's tracks everything from how many seconds people are spending in the drive-thru to how many seconds it takes to fulfill an order. What this means for you is you need a system to measure how successful you are for the specific roles and KPIs that you've defined for your business. So for us, what that looks like is we have KPI dashboards per team member where we roll up all of the data based off their KPIs. We can easily visit it and see it on a clear dashboard. We use data to make informed decisions, because as you scale, it's the data that's going to drive the decisions for the business. If you want to scale beyond yourself, you need to let the data do the work for you. And if you don't have a measurement system, if you don't have any KPIs, if you don't have a dashboard where you can easily see everything from your close rate to how many wins you've gotten for the clients to how many tasks have been complete for each person to your NPS surveys and so much more, it's going to be really, really hard to scale. So if we can create the measurement systems for literally every department, whether that's editing, whether that's sales, whether that's appointment setting, whether that's client success, then you will have the management view to make decisions on growth. For one of the agencies inside of Agency U, we literally just built out a whole sales dashboard for him. One thing that he wanted to improve on and get real clear on was the sales, because he felt a little ambiguous about it and wasn't sure what was actually happening. So what we did is we built him a Notion dashboard that showed how many leads he's getting, how many leads he's actually booking, his lead to booking ratio, his qualified lead rate, and how many deals he was actually able to close from the leads that he was getting. Just by doing this, he was able to be more efficient with his ads, identify what's actually working in his business, and refine the things that actually mattered. And for him, it was to improve his lead to booking ratio. Just by doing this, we were able to add $20,000 a month in new revenue for that specific client. Let me also share a case study of our friend Alex. And Alex came to us basically overwhelmed, doing around $4,000 a month because he was being a jack of all trades, master of none, and he was doing basically whatever the client wanted to do. And he felt so busy doing $4,000 a month and had no idea how he's actually going to be able to scale because he was doing 3 different things for 3 different people. He was doing all the strategy, all the sales, he was doing all the client delivery, and he was, again, just like overwhelmed, trying to figure out how do I get out of here. And his biggest challenges were that he'd get inconsistent results for his clients. He had difficulty even thinking about hiring somebody because he had no idea how to train what he knew, what his skill set was. He had no idea how to get his next client, and he had no time ultimately to work on the business because he was working so much in the business. So after implementing the McDonald systems approach, what we were able to do is step 1, we productized his offer and came up with 3 different tiers for his offers so that he had a clear understanding of what he was selling and exactly how he gets his clients from where they are to where they want to go. Number 2, he basically documented his entire process of how he gets his clients from where they are to where they want to go, from the research to the strategy to the editing to the shooting to the implementing the ads to the client success and so much more. 3, we plugged in our simple client acquisition system, which is the DM funnel, to predictably get him new leads that he could then sell with the new pain points and the new productized offers with really clear messaging to the client's pain points and the outcomes that they actually wanted. And 4, once we were able to start getting predictable clients, then we were able to actually hire people to run the system that we built. So what we did is we helped install the agency operating inside of his business, built it based off of the productized offer, created a dashboard for his next hire, which is going to be a client success manager, and he was able to successfully train and hire a client success manager using the training that he built and the SOPs that he's built for that person basically just to run. The results after 6 months were literally insane. He went from doing, again, $4,000 per month in revenue to scaling to over $60,000 per month. He had a productized offer that basically guarantees his clients get results. He was able to document standard operating procedures for each process on how he gets his clients results. He was able to plug people in to work the systems that he's been able to build, and he's been able to scale to $60,000 a month while actually working less. The key is that he stopped seeing himself as this expert where he does everything and he's the best at everything and he knows everything, and he started to see himself as the owner. And with that mindset, he was able to create the same process that got him the result that got him where he is today. Now I know what some of you guys are thinking, and I want to address some of the common objections that I hear when talking about this stuff. First thing first is my business is creative. I need to be custom with everything. It's too complex. It can't be systematized. Remember, McDonald's didn't try to systematize fine dining. They focused on systematizing the 80% that was in fact repeatable. In your agency, identify the 80% of the workflow patterns that can be systematized and do that. Focus on that now. The second thing I hear is I'll lose my competitive edge if I standardize. Actually, the opposite is true. And once you standardize your processes, you free up mental space for more innovation on the process that you've actually been able to build. Another thing I hear is clients only want to work directly with me, which is totally fine. Like I always suggest, start by systematizing behind the scenes process, then gradually transition team members in to work a specific part of the process. You don't need to throw somebody into the deep end immediately once you hire them. You'll still have a lot of face time until you get to a pretty high revenue level. Another thing I hear is I can't afford to invest in systems. What I like to say is you can't afford not to. If you're too busy to build good systems, you're always going to be too busy. All you need to do is just start small. Create 1 training a day on Loom, which is about a 5-minute video. If you do that for 1 month, that's going to be 30 different trainings that you can eventually have somebody else run. Let me give you a practical roadmap in the next 90 days to implement the McDonald's way, the McDonald's systematic approach. So days 1 through 30 can basically be focused on assessing and documenting. What this means is list everything you're doing, track how you spend your time, identify the top 3 time sucks, document, and basically templatize the delivery process. This will be very eye-opening for you. Once you're able to basically look at this, many of you will start to think to yourself, I have a job. So after you implement the days 1 through 30, what I would do is days 30 through 60 would be focusing on standardizing, and simplifying. So as you're going through the assessment of all things that you're doing, what you're probably gonna realize is that there's a specific types of services, specific services that you're offering that are making the most money for you and that are most attractive to the clients. So what we wanna then do is we want to create 2 to 3 packages that we can standardize. Then we want to basically just price these out, price and name these packages, create processes for the packages that you've created, and build KPIs for the processes. So then from days 61 through 90, this will be all about systematizing and delegating. So at this point, we'll have a very clear process of how we get our clients from where they are to where they want to go. And we'll have packages laid out and pretty much ready to use and ready to start selling. We'll have the processes basically made from A to Z. So then what we'll want to do is we'll want to start to create a SOP library that will basically train on the standardization and the simplification of what we've been able to do inside of our business, inside of our agency. We'll also want to define and identify key roles that will help execute a lot of what we built out. So is that a client success manager? Is that a VA? Is that a videographer? Is that a video editor? Is that a website designer? Who is it that can start to operate and work this system that we're going to start building? Then what we want to do is we want to build basically the infrastructure. So basically what we're doing is we use something that we call the agency operating system, which is basically the dashboard, the infrastructure, the system that makes this all work. And if we just plug our team into the system with the SOPs, with the KPIs that they need to hit, we want to make it dummy proof with the infrastructure. We want to give them everything that they need in order to be successful. For example, if you're hiring a video editor, do you have a project management board for them? Do you have the SOPs clearly available to them? Do you have the KPIs clearly in front of your face? Are you measuring that? Do you have a way to actually measure the success of the person and set them up for success? So what we have is the agency operating system, has our onboarding, has our client portal, has the team portal, has dashboards, data, and so much more. This is key for you to have management insight and for you to make decisions based off of data. And then lastly, what we need to do is we need to hire effectively. So if we have the SOPs, if we have the key roles, if we have the infrastructure, all we really need to do is plug people in to work the infrastructure, to work the systems that we built, to be trained off of the SOPs that we've already built. And we have a standardized process of how we get our clients from where they want to go. Now you can hire confidently and you'll be able to hire effectively without it adding more hours to your day. The McDonald's brothers didn't set out to create one of the largest companies in the world. They wanted to make their restaurant more efficient. But by focusing on systems instead of individual effort, they built something that could scale beyond anything that anyone could have imagined. Your agency has the same potential. Stop thinking like a practitioner who happens to own a business and start thinking like a business owner who happens to work in your industry. When you shift from I am the business to I own a system, everything will change inside of your business. Clients get better results, team members have clearer expectations, you regain your time and freedom, and scaling finally becomes possible. Remember what Ray Kroc said, the system is the solution. For your agency, it can be too. If you found this valuable, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on building systems, be sure to join our free community by clicking the link in the description. And let me know in the comments, what's one process in your agency that you're going to systematize this week? I read all of the comments, so let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.